I had an adventure yesterday. Excuse me if I look rubbish, I always look like that, but I come back from work and I can't be bothered shaving. I had a piece of paper, which is this, which says that I have to be at the prefecture on the 25th of May at 13:50 or 10 to 2 at kiosk number 2. I have to bring a passport and an identity photograph. My rendezvous cannot be modified, it cannot be reassigned. If I miss it, it's just too bad. The reason for this is because I have to have a little permit to say that I can legally be here. I'm no longer European, and that's to you, Boris Johnson, and May, and Farage, and everybody else. If you voted for Brexit, thank you. So, immediately I went into panic mode because I've never used French transportation. I don't know what it's like. I drove myself into town and my boss said I could drop my car into the work car park. And then I walked across town about half a kilometre to a bus that was going up to Vitré. It was free, which was great. So here I am on the bus. Anyway, I got to Vitré and I got myself a train ticket with a big magnetic stripe on the back. Now, the interesting thing about the train ticket is when I got it to go to Rennes and back on that day, it's valid from the 25th to the 31st. So you need to do something called composting your ticket, which is a little yellow machine that looks like this. And it will print, I don't know if you can see that, the date and the time and where you are. That's to stop you from using a ticket over and over and over. Because the short journey from Vitré to Rennes, 1640. Ouch!
La région Bretagne et SNCF vous souhaitent la bienvenue à bord de ce TER Breisgau à destination de Rennes. Il desservira Châteaubourg, Cervon, Noyal-Assigné, Cesson-Sévigné, Halte et Rennes. L'étiquetage de vos bagages est obligatoire. Ne les laissez pas sans surveillance et signalez-nous tout colis ou objet qui vous semble être abandonné. Nous vous souhaitons un agréable voyage. Destination Rennes. Prochain arrêt Châteaubourg. Tous responsables. Votre confort et votre sécurité, les opérations de nettoyage et de désinfection de nos trains sont renforcées. Nous vous remercions de porter votre masque tout au long de votre voyage.
I got to Rennes and went down, right down to the bowels of the earth where the metro is, the underground, and got myself that. I don't know if you can see, but there's a little lump there, which is probably the processor or something, and some strips of metal in here. This is a contactless rechargeable, well, it says a rechargeable ticket. It was $4.30, $4.60, $4 something for the day, and it gives me access to using the metro and the bus route. Access to the metro is an RFID card. It gives me access to anywhere on the line today.
Station Anatole France, accès halte ferroviaire.
I got to the prefecture at just after 10 o'clock in the morning for an appointment that was 10 to 2. What I hadn't taken into account was the fact that they were doing social distancing. So they were only letting people into the prefecture at the time for their appointment, give or take. And there was an enormous queue outside. I took one look at that and I thought, sod it, straight back to the metro. So, eventually I got to St. Anne, which I suppose is the centre of town. I'm not that familiar with Rennes, to be honest. It seemed like a big open space with a church and an awful lot of bars around it, so maybe that is the centre of town. I went to the Tourist Information Office. Now, what I forgot, actually, I've meant to say, is that the train station in St. Anne is not the bowels of the earth, it's whatever's below that. So I walked up and up and up. For some reason, the escalators were all going down, not up. I don't quite get that. But up a bit more, up a bit more. It's like one of those mind-screwy pictures with the stairway that just never ends. It felt like that. But eventually I got out, and as I said, I went to the Tourist Information Office and had a look around. And by that time I was looking for a toilet, because, you know, as needs must. So I went and found some people who looked sort of official. They were wearing a uniform, and I asked them where the toilet was. They said, it's just over there. Go down. Apparently it's like an underground car park or something. Need 20 centimes. So I went down, 20 centimes, stuck it in the machine. Nothing happened. Bravo. And I didn't have another 20 centime coin, so I couldn't try and figure out what was wrong with that one. I didn't want to keep on feeding it money anyway. So I went for a little walk and ended up by somewhere called Les Leys. Not quite sure what that was. It looks like in a big kind of covered marketplace. And the toilet was not very clean. It looked like a place even hobos wouldn't want to sleep at night, to be honest. It was metal, but it was functional and it was free. So there you go. Went to the toilet. Then I went back to St. Anne and got myself a hot chocolate. To the prefecture at 10 o'clock for a 1:50 in the afternoon appointment. So I'm wasting time in the middle of town. So to waste some time, I didn't fancy going all the way back down into the underworld in St. Anne. So I went for a walk to the next station up, La République, which unfortunately I took a complete magical mystery tour. I wasn't really paying attention. I just sort of knew the direction I should go in. And I ended up by the cathedral. Well, I found the cathedral. I bet when this was built, everything else here was just a field. So at La République, I got back onto the metro, and the next stop along the line was St. Anne. So I walked a kilometre, and it's okay, I just wanted to waste some time. What I noticed around the station of République is there's a magic shop, which could be interesting to go to, as long as it's not sort of Harry Potter, because that would just be annoying. And a tea boutique, and also, what was the other one? Japanimation, figurines and games and manga and stuff. It seems strange to me that I discover more things looking at Google Street View than by actually walking around town. But then I was more worried about time and my position and everything, so I was probably more concentrating on that than window shopping. Sorry, this is like the most I've talked in weeks. Anyway, went all the way back to the Poncho station, then through the campus and back to the prefecture, which was closed. It was about 10 past noon. They open at 1:30. They close for lunch. I know they open at 1:30 because I heard some bloke arguing with the security guard who was just closing up, and he said, we'll be open at 1:30, we'll be open at 1. Guy wasn't having it, so I went, sat down on a wall, plugged Avantasia, Nightwish and all that lot into my ears, and just sort of twiddled my thumbs and tried not to be too bored for an hour. Then I got up and stood in line on the left-hand side, which is people's appointments. There were a black couple in front of me who were speaking, I think they were Caribbean, some sort of Caribbean language. And some bloke behind who pushed in, but looking at the way he was disastrously dressed, I decided I wasn't going to argue with him. He was just not worth my time. So along came 1:30 and this girl came out and she was starting to call people. Do you have appointments at 1:30? Is your name such and such? She took a look at my piece of paper and said to me in English that she'll come for me when it's my turn. 1:50 came. 1:50 went. 2 o'clock came. 2 o'clock went. I was thinking sort of, oh God, what am I going to do for the train journey back and all of this sort of stuff? How is this going to work with regards to timing? Because the timing of when the return train would get back to where the return bus would leave to go back to the town where I left my car, it was like 2 minutes. So I was getting a little bit antsy about that because the next bus would be something like 10 to 7 in the night, in the evening. Anyway, she came and she got me, and I went round the security checkpoints, and there were all these signs written in English. Do this, do that. Clearly, English people do not read French or understand arrows. No comment. So the security guard went around to the other side, and he had gloves on. He had this little box. I had to empty my pockets and then show that the little bag that I had was a muffin and not a handgun, and show what was inside my like satchel thing that I carry with me. This is my phone. This is a battery for charging it, and it's not a weapon. I don't quite understand what all the security is for the prefecture. Do they have like a lot of money there or something? Anyway, I passed the security checkpoint. I sat down outside guichet 4, kiosk 4, and waited, twiddled my thumbs. After a few moments, this completely frazzled looking English pair came out, and you could tell they're English. They just have this appearance, and when they started speaking, I know, but I could tell from the appearance they were maybe late 70s and just looked like they hadn't got a clue what was going on. So I went in there, and this woman was like complete rapid fire French. So I can imagine if she was like that with them and they don't understand French, well, yeah. She asked me for my passport, and she asked me for an identity photo. Now I took 3 sets of these, so she could pick which one that she thought was best. She didn't care. She grabbed the one on top. But I suppose catastrophic hair, zombie eyes, ugly as hell. Yeah, definitely me. I then put my hand on this little green box with a glass lid and sort of glowing green and mirrors and crap inside it. She didn't wipe that down in between people. Naughty. Anyway, put my 4 fingers onto it and it scanned them to take the fingerprints. Then my left hand, then my 2 thumbs. And had to sign a piece of paper. And that was it. All of that for maybe 3 or 4 minutes. So, back to Poncho and then waiting for the metro. I should add in this lovely weather, I forgot to say it before, so I'm going to stick it in while I'm editing the video, that I'm going to have to do it again in about 3 weeks. They're going to send me a text message to tell me when my titre de séjour is ready. Oh, okay then. Same plant, different colours. That's different. So yeah, I'll get to do it all over again. Went all the way back to the train station, the main train station, and then up and up and up and up and up. The escalator looked like this. I can imagine if you lose your footing on that escalator, you tumble. Oh my God, it would be like something out of a slapstick movie, only painful. So I went and had a look at all these screens everywhere, and I had to ask somebody in the end what terminal the train was on, because I couldn't make sense out of all the screens. It didn't seem to say like 9 Vitre or whatever, which maybe I missed something, because he just looked up and said track 9. So I decided I would have a quick pee before I came back, because I don't know how long the journey would be or how long I have to wait for the bus or whatever. And there was a really luxurious, soft, nice toilet with a woman with a checkout in it. They wanted €1 and she gave you a little receipt. Well, she didn't give me a receipt, she gave other people receipts. She probably figured as an English person I wouldn't need one. Maybe it's a tax deduction, but oh my god, I've never seen a checkout in a toilet before. But credit, it actually had toilet paper and soft music, and it was quite nice. Not sure it was worth €1 exactly, but whatever. By that time I just wanted to get on the train and get home. So here's the train. And here's a little bit of me leaving the station in Rennes, heading back towards Vitré.
Mesdames, Messieurs, bienvenue à bord du TER Pays de la Loire à destination de Nantes. Il desservira Vitré, Laval, Sablé, Angers-Saint-Lô, Ancenis.
I noticed that we were moving through the countryside kind of fast. Set up the GPS speedometer that I used to use with my other Playmobil car, Felicity, and 160 kilometers an hour. That's probably like the fastest I've ever moved on land that wasn't an airplane in the process of taking off. So I had marked out that I would be on the train leaving at just before 4:20, but actually I was able to get the one leaving at 2:57, which got me into Vitré at 3:17. So yeah, 20 minutes. So 3:17 I was at Vitré, and the bus would be leaving at 4:55. So I went into the tourist information office in Vitré and looked around and picked up some paperwork just to read. They had some things in English, so I could not have to bother translating because I'm lazy like that. And then there was a little cafe, which well, not a cafe, it was actually a maitre restaurateur, but it was serving coffee and stuff. So I got myself a exorbitantly priced but rather nice hot chocolate. And as I took my glass back, which completely shocked him because apparently people don't do nice things like that, I asked him if it was possible to have anything hot, and he asked me in English what did I have in mind. And I said something simple, a bowl of chips. And he said, "You want chips?" And I said, "Just a bowl of chips." I was speaking French, he was speaking English. He said, "All right." So what came out was this. It cost about $4.50. Some of the chips were really overcooked and some of them were kind of undercooked, so I think that they probably took some of the stuff from lunchtime, reheated it up and put in some new chips to make up the difference. Not terribly good when you're paying that kind of money for the product, but the way the chips were made, I suspect they were homemade as well. But by that point I really didn't care. I was being ripped off with crappy chips that were way too greasy, because I was hungry and getting kind of irritable because I hadn't had my tea in the morning. Had a little hot chocolate along the way though. So I had that and I listened to some music while eating it to waste some time. And eventually I sat down and waited for the bus to come, which was bang on time. So congratulations, France. Every single bit of public transport was exactly as the schedule said it would be. Well done. Got back home at, not home, got back to the town where I work at about 5 o'clock. No, just before 6 o'clock. Because it left just before 5 o'clock, Vitre. Just before 6 o'clock I got back. Then walked around to where work is for about 6:05. My little clocking in badge, this thing, it opens the gate because they don't want anyone to come into the place, and luckily it actually worked. The boss was worried that it would only allow me in at a certain time of day, but it let me in early in the morning and it let me in the evening, so that was great. Picked up my car, went to the supermarket to get something special to eat, because I felt like I deserved it, something chocolatey, and then came home, and that was the day. My little adventure. At least next time in 3 weeks it won't be quite as stressful, because I will have done it, and as long as no one's on strike or anything stupid like that, it won't be such a problem.
Mesdames et messieurs, bonjour, la région de Bille avant la SNCF et toute l'équipe TER vous souhaite la bienvenue à bord de votre train à destination de Nantes. Je vous rappelle que dans le cadre du plan Vigipirate, le dictage de vos bagages est obligatoire et doit impérativement rester sous votre surveillance. Mesdames et messieurs, je vais passer d'ici quelques instants parmi vous. Si vous avez rencontré des difficultés pour acheter ou composter vos titres de transport, je vous invite à me le signaler spontanément. Lors de mon premier passage et ce avant toute opération de contrôle, je reste également à votre disposition pour toute information commerciale et vous souhaite un agréable voyage. Mesdames et messieurs, rappelez que pour votre sécurité, celle de l'ensemble de nos passagers, le port du masque est obligatoire à bord de nos trains. Je vous invite donc à bien conserver celui-ci, à remonter sur votre nez et votre bouche durant la totalité de notre trajet. Je vous rappelle que tout manquement à cette règle entraînera la mise en place d'un procès verbal de 135 €.
Ah oui, c'est